Hi, and welcome back to the Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Sarah Johnston from Sarah Johnston Consultancy. And the reason I wanted to get Sarah onto the podcast was really talk about her business. She's an estate agency lettings background. She then set up her own firm. She then sold that firm, and now she's offering help, support, coaching to businesses in the Harrogate area. But really, what I wanted to do is just explore a lot about her journey, what she was thinking at the time, why she's got to where she's got to, and just what she's learned. And hopefully, there's quite a lot you can take from it. I know interviewing her, I got a lot from the podcast and a lot from talking to her about what she'd done and why and how she felt and the challenges she's faced and everything else. So, yeah, let's just get Sarah onto the podcast. So, welcome onto the podcast, Sarah. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really good. Thank you. And excited to get you onto the podcast. It is probably quite a unique situation where it's normally mortgage brokers or people in the mortgage broking world, and you're not. So what is going to be an exciting conversation and something totally different. And you've got loads going on to talk about, obviously from a business point of view and your coaching and your consulting going on to we talked a little bit before this hit record about your book as well. So I'm interested to have a bit of a discussion around that. So you've got plenty to worry about at the moment. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I like a challenge, so that's for sure. I like to keep busy, but no, thank you very much for inviting me to come on. It's great to talk to you and help if I
No, it's
can.
good. No, definitely. I think it's good. It's good for us to catch up as well because we met. Well, we need to do the puppy introduction as well, first of all, because obviously you've got a puppy in the background that might interject at some stage in the recordings because they've just woke up from their 2-hour power nap, shall we say. So, but you're
Yeah,
currently feeding with peanut butter, is that right?
yeah. Peggy the Pug, 12 weeks old. She's got her little peanut butter licking mat, but she has been making an appearance in some of my vlogs recently. Not always on purpose, but they do always say never work with animals, don't they?
No, exactly. But to be fair, we love dogs on this podcast. I think quite a lot of mortgage brokers have dogs as well. So we've been accustomed to a few impromptu guest appearance on the podcast. So yeah, don't worry about that. So if she makes her 12 weeks old, how are you going to keep her still? So that's going to be interesting.
I'm even considering doing some sort of dog networking event for people with dogs that can then bring them with them and still network because that's a
I
new
think that's a
problem I've
big
never had before.
no, I think that's a big thing. I think that there's a real need for that market. Definitely. I think that's just something rather than sat in a big sort of hotel room or conference room or wherever the networking events happen, pubs, some of them that I know, and things like restaurants and stuff like that. Get out dog walking. That's great. That's like mindset moments, spending time with dogs and understanding other people's dogs. And you know what you say, or what people say is that you can always sort of like the owners, aren't they, kind of thing. So you get a good understanding of the owner's personality through the dog. So what better way to network?
Yeah, I mean she's pretty feisty. There was no chance, was there, that was going to have a calm, non-busy dog. So we'll see.
Well, if
Hopefully
she
she'll
makes
calm
it
down.
easy, it'd be fine. So, like I said, first of all, thanks for coming onto the podcast. We'll get you obviously talk about your journey in a second, and our paths crossed 5 years ago. It just literally just seems like yesterday, but 5 years ago, it doesn't seem like yesterday. It seems like a long time ago, but then at the same time, it doesn't, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, we met up. You launched your business just after the same time as I launched CS Mortgage Solutions. That's about right, isn't it?
May 2017 was Homes for Harrogate.
Yeah, July 2017. So yeah, we're a couple of months behind you. A couple of months
Yeah.
behind. So do you want
Like
to
you said, it feels like a
explain?
lifetime ago.
It does absolutely, and I think yeah, it does totally. So yeah, do you want to just give us a bit of a background to Sarah Johnston and your sort of your history, your up to date, really?
Yeah, so back in 2017, obviously I made the brave move to start a business, which lots of people do. But I was working full time for an estate agent in Harrogate at the time. I'd been there six years. I'd worked for a few others in Harrogate. Originally a law background, so realised I wasn't made to be sitting in a solicitor's office pushing paper around. I like to be out and about meeting people.
I don't think you're the only one with a law degree that's never been used. So I know quite a few mortgage brokers as well that are in the same situation.
Yeah, and I think, and they'll probably say the same. It's a great degree to have. It teaches us a lot of skills that come in handy in different roles. So, and I ultimately think you end up where you're meant to be anyway. So, I don't regret doing it, and it's been very useful, especially with setting up a letting agency with things like tenancy agreements, serving notice. The law degree did come in handy. But basically, I was working for an estate agent in Harrogate. And I had some ideas. I thought, we should be holding landlord seminars. We should be doing video blogs for landlords. This is at the time that Purple Bricks had just about set up around that time as well.
Yeah.
A lot of clients no longer felt that they had those associations with the owners anymore, and they were looking for a more effective, quicker service as opposed to sort of down the whole loyalty route. So we lost a few clients, and I said, maybe it's time that we got on the modern online bandwagon as well. Estate agency, possibly similar to mortgages, can be quite a traditional industry, and I think it was time that it got shook up a little bit. So I decided to set up on my own. So I handed my notice in, got a laptop in my lounge. I'd never run a business before. I'd never started a business. I very quickly learned what SEO was because I had no idea what SEO was. I didn't know where landlords were, but I knew my job, and I knew that I wanted to do it differently and make a difference. So, but I also knew that I didn't want to be a cheap online agent. But nobody ever heard of me or known me, and I'm saying, please give me the keys to your house, I'll find you a tenant, and then when the tenant pays me, I'll pass you the money on. It's quite a big ask. I think there's a lot of trust and credibility that I needed to build. So I just started doing a lot of online marketing, a lot of video blogs, a lot of landlord seminars, putting my knowledge out there, blogs, Facebook, Instagram, and I started getting clients through those channels, which other agents weren't really using. So I managed to grow it to 3 members of staff and a high street office when I sold it in December last year. So no, did really well, really pleased.
Wow, that's like 4 years, just sort of 4.5 years, and in a whistle-stop tour of what you did. But one thing, there's a few things on there I wanted to ask you, and just because there is quite a few people that listen to the podcast that are employed with great ideas, but those ideas are always suppressed because they're in a employed role or a large corporate role. And so for you, and like people are thinking, there is more out there. I want to go self-employed, or I want to start my own firm. But what is that something you always wanted to do? Had you always had that thought in your mind that even when you worked even when you was employed, setting your own firm and going self-employed, was that something you knew you wanted to do eventually?
Yeah, and I've always been incredibly ambitious. So whatever job I've had, I've worked in bars, restaurants, cafes. I think we've all done our bit at one time or another. I didn't want to be a waitress. I then wanted to be a manager, and then I then realised actually I didn't like the hours and I didn't like the industry. But for me, it was always about going as high as I could in any sort of industry or job that I'd had. And I had written a business plan for a letting agency probably a few years earlier than before I set up. But I was giving myself an office in Ripon. I was having staff. I would have gone bankrupt within maybe 3 months. So I'm glad I didn't do it then. I think things do happen for a reason. Luckily for me, at the time, I had no mortgage, no children, and the worst case scenario in my head was if I don't try it now, and if it doesn't work, I could get a job. I'll just get a job in 6 months' time. So I was of the opinion that if it doesn't work, I'll just get another job. So yeah, brave, but I thought worst case scenario, I just have to find some employment again.
No, I think you're absolutely right. There's a few words that you use in there that do use on numerous occasions, and the first one is about being brave, and you was brave, and going out on this venture and doing what you wanted to do was very brave of you. And I think that's on the back of that, then you sort of said there, what's the worst that can happen? I'll go back and be employed and get a job again and things like that. And I think that sometimes that, like, I had that same mindset when I set out, and I want to sort of delve a little bit more in terms of where your head was at, just how you were feeling when you set up, what did day one look like, and how you feeling, things like that in a second. But then just, it is, I had that mindset the same as you, by the sounds of it, that he said, well, there'll always be jobs out there. There'll always be roles. There'll always be, nobody can take the skills I've got. Nobody can take me away from me. So whether that's, if they're self-employed, and because you have no experience in it, you are taking 2 feet firmly into the unknown and setting your own firm up. And there's no, you've done that yourself. There's no, it is all on your responsibility. You're accountable for that. But behind the scenes, it's then thinking, well, what's the worst that can happen? I'll get a job again. I'll get a role again. I'll do something else. And I think if you go into that with that mindset, and things happen for a reason. And it's funny that that's also something that I talk about quite a lot and on previous podcasts, and I'm glad you sort of said that, because things do happen for a reason and things, but for you at that time, it must have been, so all these things in your head, I've got a backstop, I know what I need to do if this doesn't work, and all those sorts of things. But I'm sure day one, when you're sat there with your laptop opening up for the first time in May 2017, what was going through your head at that time, or going through your stomach and going through your gut and going through your heart? How did you feel?
Do you know, it seems like it seems like it was a different person. That Sarah's to me seems like, you know, and I just think, I even think it's weird. I even think, oh, good on you. I'm so glad you did it. Like, thank you. But because she just feels like a different person. But so brave. But excited. I loved it. I'd never been networking, so I loved all the lunchtime meetings and meeting people and growing my network, telling people what I did, and I was excited. I loved putting my posts out there. I think, I mean, I must have been scared and nervous, but I don't really remember. I loved spending my days doing my video blogs and my marketing and seeing things move forward, and yeah, just excitement, I think. And like you said, I always thought, you know, people are always employable. I mean, I'm not now, and I'm guessing you're probably not either. But I think there's a limit on when we can always go get another job. I think we might be past that now. But
Yeah, I think
yeah,
that,
I don't know.
I think
I
that
got a
there
lot
is.
of help. I think your network is incredibly important. I think I had a lot of support and a lot of help. So that, yeah, I mean, I must have been scared, mustn't I? But I just remember it being excited.
I think you've got. I can remember going back to those times where I felt, even now you have good days and bad days, and you have the extremes. But I think at that time, I think it was very much the honeymoon period. I can remember sort of thinking that, like, it's exciting. This is something I've dreamt about. This is something I want to create. This is something that's mine. And like you said, in terms of your own brand, it was your business. It was everything that you wanted. So, and you sort of ride that wave of honeymoon period, shall we say, pretty
Yeah,
well from the
it feels
start.
amazing, doesn't it? It feels amazing, and you think, why didn't I do this sooner? It's a little bit later on, like you've said. It's good actually. The honeymoon period. It's when that wears off. I think that you start to feel a little bit more tired and scared. But
Absolutely. I think that's the thing. It's like you ride that wave, and we know what, like, the wave eventually sort of the wave then ceases, and then you just sat in the sea or in this lake or something, and you just sort of sat there. And if you don't do anything, you just drift. And I think that's the thing with it. But then what do you do then? I think that's I can remember we started in July. I can remember sort of 3 months later thinking, where is this going? What am I doing? Like, what am I? And you just dig deep. I think from speaking to you and from seeing what you've done with your brand and where you are now, you are quite a persistent person, shall we say? So I think
I think you have to
you
be.
just
I think,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, we've all had those days. There was days I was crying on my floor because I couldn't find a stapler. I don't really think it was a stapler that was the problem, was it? But you think I run a business, I'm doing this, I can't even find a stapler. I started a franchise, and for one reason or another, I put an end to it. But I'm glad I did, because then I wouldn't have sold, and you end up where you're meant to be. But that I lost 35 grand doing that, and I think not everything we do works out, and I think there are going to be tough days, but I think you genuinely have to be passionate about what you do, because then otherwise it is easy just to give up, and I think you can't. It's that saying, isn't it? The people that give up, you never know quite how close you are to making it. So you've just got to keep going, and you've got to try and put a positive spin on everything.
I think you do. Like say, it's just about, one of the big things that you have to have is persistence in everything that you do when you are owning your own firm. And people from the outside looking in see all the amazing things, see all the really good stuff, see all the bright lights and the jazz hands and everything else. But what they don't see is Sarah laid on the floor crying because she can't find a stapler. But that obviously that's a metaphor, but we've all been in that situation, and I think it is.
Yeah,
And you
I
still go
love to
through
tell
those
people
periods.
that story, because I think people should be more honest. I think people, it's like with the puppy.
I don't worry.
For example, it's like with the puppy. Everybody's on Insta. Say hi, Peggy. Everybody's on Instagram and Facebook, talk about how amazing it is to have a puppy, and aren't they the best thing that's ever happened to you? Actually, do you know what? No, it's pretty painful, and it is hard work. And there are some days where I think, what have I done? I can't cope. So I think it's quite similar to having a business, and I think more people should be honest about the tough bits, because it helps prepare you.
Definitely.
So it's a bit like somebody should be more honest and admit. I don't think it's bad to admit that we've had times where we've cried and they've had tough days, or we've thought about quitting, or we've lost money. I think ego stops people admitting that stuff, but actually I think it's massively helpful for people starting out on a business to know that that's okay, that's normal. We've all been there.
You're absolutely right. I don't think there's enough of that out there in the social media space, of the brute sort of really harsh reality that these things. And I do talk about that, where from a business point of view, I've made some really amazing decisions, but I've made some really amazingly bad ones as well. And I think but then you just don't. It's just good that you learn from those sorts of things, and you can. And at the time, your mindset quickly changes with once you you have one of those moments and you think, like, why am I doing this? I need to, like, why am I doing, like, and you do question what you're doing when you do have the failures, and we all have them. Every single business owner, everybody has failures. They're lying if they say that they don't. But I think it's just then how quickly you come out the other side with those failures, and you come out quicker the more failures you have. And I'm not sort of promoting the fact you should have loads of failures. I'm just saying that the failures become less important because you're then focusing on the success, and you just deal with those. And it's how you react to those failures that are testament to you and where you've been. And like, I actually love what you say there, like in terms of, would you not love to go back and spend a day with Sarah in May 2017? Because I know I would love to go back to spend a day with Craig in 2017 and go, it's obviously not to reassure, but it's just about just to look at the person that you was then and what you are now.
They've got no idea of what they're accomplishing and what's happening. I think back then, I think like you said, you could become a bit harder with stuff. Like back then, I would cry a lot over, like, if a keyboard warrior had put something on a vlog, or somebody had say something, I was destroyed, ruined my life. I was crying. I was like, how could I do this? And now I'm, and then like you said, you have bigger, the franchise money, that was quite upsetting for about a week. Now I'm like, it's just money. I'm glad it didn't work. I think it gets easier as well, doesn't it? I think the more stuff, and I don't think you're right, everything shouldn't be easy and work, and everything you do isn't going to work, but you actually become a better person for it if you can stay positive and put a positive spin on it. Because I know then I didn't know, but I wouldn't be doing what I do now if my franchise had taken off. And actually, that's not really what I would have wanted, a big franchise or letting agencies. So
like
hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely, hindsight is an amazing thing. Absolutely is. But I think in terms of there were a few things in there that you were talking about and saying. But one thing that was going through my mind, and you actually said it at the end there, was you're a better person for it, and you feel that way and that's a big thing. You feel that, and that's all we want in life is we want that as human beings. We crave to be better people and develop and learn, and you can't bottle that really in terms of because it's not something you can read it's not something that you've just got to experience and feel that emotion at that time, because they say losing that amount of money in the franchise, and I apologize for bringing it back up again, but I think you seem to have you're dealing with it all right now. For a week, obviously it would have been at the end of the world, and lose it, and for anybody listening thinking, wow, how, but that's testament to you that you came out the other side. And just now, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but it is just money at the end of the day. It's not it's not changed your mindset, the way that you are. Then it's only bettered you as a human being, and that's something that you can reflect on and look back positively.
I use the word luck a lot, and actually I think we make our own luck. So I don't know why I do use that word so much, but I was lucky in that Homes for Harrogate paid for that money. It could afford that money. That franchise didn't put, I do calculated risks. So as much as I say I paid, but I make decisions pretty quick, but they are quite calculated. I knew Homes for Harrogate could fund it. Technically that was my money, so I did lose it, but I was in a very lucky position. I hadn't put it on credit. I hadn't remortgaged my house. It could have been a lot worse, and I think that's always the way of trying to look at things, really.
No, definitely. I think just to be clear on that point, then it wasn't a bounce back loan that you sort of
then. Yeah, luckily I didn't owe that money back to anybody. But there's on the same thought. I thought I could just have gone and taken that out of a cash machine and set it on fire, but it was still a loss.
It is. I think sometimes it is still your money. It is a lot of money and it's but it's when you look at how you dealt with that and coming out the side with that. So absolutely. So
it was a deposit for a house, isn't it? I could have used one of your mortgage brokers and got a deposit for a house.
Good luck getting a deposit for a house in Harrogate with that deposit. I think you might need a bit more there, Sarah, to be fair, where you live, but we won't talk about that. So in terms of, that was your sort of your lettings business that you set up. You created a brand, you created a business, you did that obviously very successfully. Was the plan always to sell it? Is that something you always wanted to do, or was it just circumstances that arose?
So I think plans always change. It's what I tell my clients now. It's good to have a plan, and I think everybody should have a plan. So when you start a business, I think you should have a 5-year plan. My exit strategy was to franchise it and then get somebody in to deal with all the franchise, and I would just be sat on my yacht somewhere having a nice mojito. But and then so I think so it was during COVID, and then the franchise fell through. And I just got to the point where I was like, do I put more money into it and keep going, and then it'll be 50 grand, 60 grand, or do I pull the plug and just decide that's not the way I'm going to go? So I decided that wasn't the way I was going to go. 2 of my staff handed their notice in the same week that happened as well. So I was covering 3 people's jobs while recruiting for 2 new people, whilst having to train 2 new people while covering 3 people. And I took myself off to a yoga retreat. I thought I just need to go. And actually, while I was on the yoga retreat, we all got thinking about what we do and why we do it. And like you asked earlier about being ambitious, did I always want to do what I do? And they all started it wasn't a work retreat. I wasn't there for any sort of therapy, but it just ended up that we started talking about how some of us just do the jobs we do because we've always done them, or we're good at them, or our parents thought we should, or, you know, in my law degree, it was always, it's a good degree, Sarah, you learn a lot of money, why wouldn't you do a law degree? Without any actually thought about what I probably would have liked to have done. And then with the lettings, I just sort of moved up. I'd got a job as a negotiator, then I wanted to be a manager. So I got a job as an assistant manager, then I wanted to be the manager, then I wanted to own my own. And, you know, don't get me wrong, we were really, really good at it. It worked. So it was a good business to have because we were good at it. But did I have any interest really in boilers, roofs, stripping taps, landlords? No, we were just good at it. And I thought about it, I thought, actually, do you know what? I don't actually enjoy lettings. Which shocks a lot of people because they say, oh, you're so passionate about it and you're marketing and you're so good at it. And I think what I actually was passionate about was the marketing of it and the growing of it. You know, when you get a buzz, don't you, when you get a new client and you see your business growing and you make some more money and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I didn't actually like the day job. So I thought, that's it, I'm selling. You know, my franchise didn't work, and I strongly believe that happened for a reason, because it was very shortly afterwards that I decided to sell. And I'd actually written a business plan to do coaching and consultancy about 2 years in, so in about 2019.
Right.
But for me, credibility is quite important. And I thought, you know, I don't want to be one of those coaches that just does an exam, and I've never run a business. I thought my business is 2 years. So for me, was like, it's not the right time. And I was maybe thinking about doing the two in conjunction. But then I saw my business. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to help other small businesses grow their businesses like I did. That's the stuff I get excited about. That's the stuff I'm passionate about. So no, it wasn't always the plan to exit. And I think you should always have a plan, but your plan will change. I don't think that's a bad thing, but you need to know where you want to be for something to aim at.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think it's funny that I've done some podcasts recently talking about the importance of business plans and the importance of reviewing them. You have to tweak them. They have to be adaptable to a certain point and things like that. So, but it's always about reviewing the plans as well and being realistic with the plans, but then at the same time challenging. But it's funny, something you said there about sort of like the growth side of things is it really is like, feel as though you're moving forward. I think I don't like stagnation or whatever word you want to use. I just always feel I've got to be moving forward. So if we're doing 1% more, 5% more, it's just a constant feel as though actually you are growing and you're moving forward and you're actually making a difference to what you're doing rather than sort of going backwards. And yes, I reflect and review and look at that, and that's not something I've always done, but I do that now on a regular basis. But because do you ever look back at where you've been? Do you ever take time to look at what you've done and what you've achieved?
I'm really bad at that. I am the last person to pat myself on the back and be like, well done. Everyone's like, oh my God, you've sold your business. That's amazing. I'm like, well, yeah, what am I doing now? Like,
Exactly.
now I need to grow this one. And everyone's like, but look what you've done. Take a bit of time off. And I'm like, absolutely not. I cannot stand still. I think it's actually what you said as well is a good point. Is I think all businesses should be built to sell, by the way. And I think I was really lucky in how I'd set mine up at the beginning, made it a very saleable business. You know, because they audit you and they do come in and check everything. And ours was and I already had an operations manual that I'd written because I was going to franchise. Right. So I think you should always build a business to sell, even if that isn't your long-term goal, because things do change. One day you suddenly don't want to be a letting agent anymore, or you want to do something else, so I think that's an important part of it as well.
No, I absolutely agree with you. The thing is as well, these things also happen that are outside of your control. That means you can't run your business anymore. So it always has to be prepared for I'm not a negative person. I'm a very positive person, but I always prepare for the worst. Like I've always got a plan B kind of thing. So, and then when plan B doesn't happen, that's a bonus. So if you're writing an operations manual thinking, I'm going to have to react quickly and sell my business quickly because of illness or whatever, something that happens, that's life changing. And then when that doesn't happen, it's like, well, it's a bonus. I'm still here. I'm still working in the business. It's still my firm.
Yeah. Because some people say to me, "Well, I want to retire. I don't want to sell my business. I'm going to retire from it one day." And I was like, "That's great, but do you want to make any money from it when you retire, or are you just going to wind it down because you built it to sell and it's not worth anything, but you've spent your whole life doing it?" I'm like you as well. I'm quite a positive person, but I always would prefer to be pleasantly surprised than bitterly disappointed. So I always think worst case scenario, than anything better than that is brilliant.
Is that in life as well? So, because I live and breathe that every single day. So I expect people to let me down. I expect everything to let me down. Yeah. And then when it doesn't, I'm pleasantly surprised. When it does, you can react quicker because you're thinking, well, Craig, like I say to myself, Craig, you knew that was going to happen. So like it's not, and you deal with it quicker and you respond better and you reflect and you move on so much quicker when you expect. I think somebody said to me once that it was much a Buddhist mentality kind of thing. And about the more I've looked into it, it is that kind of some sort of way. It's a very Western Buddhism kind of way of looking things. But I didn't know that. I just thought, well, it is what it is. I'm always sort of very self-responsible. I'm always accountable for myself. I don't like relying on other people. I tend not to rely on other people. It's my life. It's my responsibility. And
I don't know how to rely on anybody else, but I think, like you said, though, those people that get excited about everything and really thinking this is going to be amazing, how disappointing must they be a lot of the time? I don't know. I think maybe it's a good way to be. You said, you can react better. You're prepared better. Possibly, and it definitely in business. I think, we all know that you think, oh, this client's definitely going to come through. It's going to be the best client I've ever had, and it doesn't. And you think, or the ones that you don't think will come through do, or they take way longer than you thought. You can't actually plan any of that stuff. Your resilience is what's most important.
Yeah, no, that's another good word to use when you're sort of looking at being a business owner. We've talked about persistence. You've got to be resilient as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, you do. And I think, like I said, your network as well is really important. I think you need to be around other people that are pushing you to do better, not the people that secretly don't want you to do well, or that they hold you, or that not that they hold you back, but they just don't have your vision. And I think your vision's your vision. You would talk about people leaving their jobs and setting up, and some people will try and keep them where they are. They'll say, don't do that. What if it fails? What if it's this? What if it's that? Well, yeah, you could get another job, and I don't know somebody's personal circumstances, but somebody will always try to stop you moving forward with stuff. And sometimes you can't always listen to those people.
No, you're absolutely. It's sometimes okay to take advice from those people, but I think the only people that you can listen to and know, you said something there about your personal circumstances and your personal situation. Your personal circumstances is your situation is your situation. Nobody can offer you advice and give you expert knowledge and the best advice because they won't know. That's the only person that knows your situation is you. You know what goes on in your head. You know how you are as a person. You know how you are as a human being. So the only person that can offer that advice is you. And sometimes people love a drama though, don't they? People do love failure. People love to sort of see that sort of thing. And it's just, I think media creates that a lot of the time. I think that sort of can be people's way of thinking that. But I think it's just, I'm very much an abundance mentality. I work with brokers that are competition to my firm, but I think, well, there's enough to go around. Like, it's okay. You're not gonna, don't worry about the competition too much. I just worry about what we're doing, what I'm doing.
I always say to people, stay in your lane. It doesn't matter what your competition are doing. And some people say, my competition's copying me. It's like, great, brilliant.
Yeah.
Good, but they'll never be you. And I think I did a post the other day that so many people keep saying to me, but there's so many business coaches in Harrogate, Sarah. And I'm like, yeah, there are. There was a lot of letting agents in Harrogate. There's a lot of mortgage brokers in Harrogate. There's a lot of electricians in Harrogate. There's a market for them, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So some people, my dad still says, I can't believe you sold your business, you shouldn't have sold it. I'm like, but why? It's the best thing I've ever done. I'm happier, but he doesn't see why I would do that when it was working.
Right.
So like you said, you can listen to people, but actually sometimes their vision doesn't align with yours, and it's what's right for them isn't right for you. And I think somebody's always going to have an opinion. That's not everybody's entrepreneurs, not everybody takes risks. So some people that prefer to play safe will say, oh no, don't. There's a lot of electricians, there's a lot of mortgage brokers. Why would you sell a business that works? You know, not everybody's the same mindset, are they?
No, they're not at all. And I think you've made a massively important point there, that it is like, even your father sort of like saying to you about giving you advice on that. He's like, nobody understands what you want and what your outlook is and where you want to go and what your plans are. And again, it's what you like. It's got to be right for you at that particular time. And I think the thing is with it as well is that it's always like, it is always yours. It's your life, and you've got that responsibility for it. So, and you've got that outlook for it, and you've got your plans for it. You know that doing what you do is then moving on to other things, and you're loving what you do now. It's just been like that. When you look back on that and selling the business, that ultimately was just a stepping stone, because everything happens for a reason. It was a stepping stone to get you where you are today. So,
and no regrets. There's no point having regrets. You know, like with the money, with the franchise, what is the point of dwelling on regret? Like, use them as a learning. So even if I did regret selling my business, I wouldn't regret it, because I don't think you should have regrets.
no.
And I think also, once something's done, what's the point in looking back and thinking, should I have done it different? It doesn't matter now, does it?
No,
you know,
you can't change it, can you?
No, I mean, I genuinely don't regret it, but you know, I don't think some comments are overly helpful as well. You know, no offense to my dad, but by him still saying that all the time, I think, you know, what's the point? It's done, it's gone,
Yeah.
it's
No,
you know,
it
you
is, and I
move
think
on.
people are. The point I was going to make is that when you understood what your options were at the time, and that's, you can make your own informed decision based on what the options are in front of you. It doesn't really, and I'm not being disrespectful to your dad here, because I know parents have got a lot more interested in, it's not just a keyboard warrior sat at home telling you what to and what to. But I think whatever people are telling you what to do, that's their opinion. But I just, that is so, like I say, I'm not being disrespectful to your dad, but it's just so wrong. It's just not something that I ever do, because there are more than enough people out there that are telling you, you should do this, you should do that, you should do the other, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. When actually, no, it's like, that's wrong. In my opinion, is that's wrong, because I just want to know what my options are. So when we're doing videos or talking about this, like on the podcast or anything like that, it's very much about, well, these are your options. You can do this, you could do that, or you could do that. You still got to make the decision yourself, because guess what? It's your life, and you've got to make those decisions based on that. So you just need to
And
know your options.
like we said, just always think worst case scenario. What is worst case scenario? And then are you willing to risk that? Like with stopping the franchise, worst case scenario was then I'd lose 50, 60 grand. I was like, I'm not willing to do that. So I stop it now. You just got to think worst case scenario. I mean, now, unfortunately, my worst case scenario is no longer just getting a job, because I'm unemployable. This needs to work.
Yeah, but you've got the persistence and the drive and the resilience to make it work. So you made it once, you make it again. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, I look back on it now and I think to myself, what would I genuinely do if this went all wrong tomorrow? And this really, what would I do? Certainly the last thing I would be doing is going employed somewhere and taking a ticket and clocking in every day and clocking out. That would just not be something I
with a
would do.
designated lunch break.
Yeah, exactly. You've got your lunch now.
I mean, to be
it's time
fair,
to
though, at
start.
least I'd get a lunch break, because I don't give myself one. But
No, but then like, you just, yeah, yeah, you get one, which is right, but then you're told when to have it and when
yeah,
to do what and when and where to be and what your targets are and what you need to be doing day in, day out. Could you, like, I could never, I'd just be some tour guide up some fell somewhere, just being self-employed, like just running my own business, saying, do you know what? I'll take you around the Wainwrights. I'll take you around these fells. Just come along, and I won't chat if you don't want to chat. I'll just take you where you need to go. And that's been something I do. Or dog walking. I think that networking dog walking thing is a brilliant idea. And I'll let you have that one. I think that is a really good idea, that.
Yeah, I'm going to do a LinkedIn poll actually and ask people and start getting a little bit of
Yeah, I think that's
stuff going for it.
definitely a good idea. So we've talked so much, and so this is like being like, and we're not finished yet because obviously we want to talk about where you're at right now and what you're doing right now. But I just at this point just want to really appreciate what you've, because I'm just thoroughly enjoying this conversation and just talk and getting to understand you far more than I did before, and so much sort of benefit out of that really. So it's been good to reflect, good to look back, and I'm very much like you. I'd never take credit for, like, people say, "Oh, you've done this, you've done that, you've done it." Like, no, I've still got, like, literally, I'm at the foot of the mountain still. I've got so much still, so where to go. I'm not going to be applauded or get a pat on the back for I'm on sort of step 10 of 1,000 kind of thing. And that will, it's just going to be a constant rise of, I'm never going to reach that peak, I don't think. But I know that, and I'm never like, because there's always something else to move on to. But so selling your business, going through everything that you've learned, and so where are you at right now in terms of, obviously you're not employed, so but where are you at now from a business point of view?
So in January, I started Sarah Johnston Consultancy. So I am actually coaching small business owners, but on marketing. So I'm a
Right.
business coach, but a marketing coach. So I'm helping them to do what I did. So it's a lot of looking at their marketing and what they're doing and who they're talking to and where they're putting it and why, and is it bringing results for them. I think a lot of business owners don't know where to start. I think a lot of them that do it aren't really sure what to put and when. And I think so I'll talk to people a lot about talking to their dream client. And I think when you talk to your dream client, they come to you because they read it and they're like, oh my God, they're talking to me. And I think if you try and talk to everybody everywhere, then you're just going to hit nobody. So it's about helping. And not a lot of people want to do video blogs or blogs. I'll never push them to do that stuff, but it's also giving them a little bit of help and confidence and accountability to get that stuff out there. And, in this online age, we all want everything immediately, don't we? I needed to order a new dog lead for Peggy last night, and I was like, well, I want it tomorrow. So hopefully it's coming today, but everybody wants everything immediately. And I think if you've not got a big online presence, you're missing out massively.
You are, absolutely. I think that the thing is with the online presence, do you feel that sort of, with the people that you're working with and from your own experience, is that something that can take time, or is that something you get a hit quite quickly, or is it a long-term thing?
It's a slow burn, I think. The stuff that you do helps your website be seen on Google. So I did get Homes for Harrogate to page 1 of Google above other agents who've been going 20 years, and I didn't pay for any SEO. I did it all myself. It was all the blogs, the content. But that took maybe a year, which still isn't bad going, to say that they'd all been going 20 years. And I think, yeah, probably up to about 9 to 12 months for it all to kick in, depending on how consistently you do it. But then people start ringing you. So it's an easier lead. It's a warmer lead. A lot of people will see me in town and recognize me, or say, oh, I feel like I know you because I've seen your video blogs. I think it's a warmer lead, isn't it? People have already seen you. So it's not a cold sell to them if they're interested in what you do.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it's quite funny that I know a consultant, a business coach, business consultant in Kendall, and I just went for a walk with him yesterday, just to have a chat about things. I really enjoy the conversations that we have, and he just he's into his local video blogs, and he got stopped. I like thinking, I'm like, come on, we're going to get some, we agreed to walk for an hour. Just, it was technically a meeting as well, but he just kept getting stopped and sort of thinking, oh, I love that video. When's your next one coming out? And things like, and it's just, that's really good. And he's niched that locally as well. And that was one thing that I was going to sort of talk to you about, is obviously you're in Harrogate, and was that something, was from a consultancy point of view, was that always your plan to sort of niche it local community rather than going virtual and everything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think the business is very new, and I think like Homes of Harrogate did, I think things evolve, and I think I want to start local. I think there's something to be said for helping local businesses in your local town, because it helps your local community grow, it helps your local business, your local town. I don't understand why I don't think a lot of people do, why you wouldn't help your local area. I think as it grows, the opportunity to spread further afield and help more people, most definitely. But I think so a lot of things I do is help people be the local expert in their local area, and I think that starts off, and then you can start going further afield. So people used to ring Homes for Harrogate and say we want to, and I'd always ask people where they'd come from. So I've seen you on Google, we want to work with you because you're the local lettings expert. I was like, yeah, great, but I've told you that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not saying we're not great, but in my blogs as a local lettings expert in Harrogate, as a local lettings expert in Harrogate, and I was putting out the knowledge that showed me to be an expert. So just like you've just said, so I was in the Everyman's Cinema having a coffee the other day, and this guy came up to me and he said, you're the marketing girl, aren't you? Yeah, sure. And he'd see my Facebook stuff. So this stuff does work. I want my clients to somebody to go up and be like, oh, you're that guy that does wills, aren't you? Or you're the personal trainer, or reach is easier, closer to home to start with, and then you build it up. So you help your local community, and you start, there's no point spreading yourself too thin when you start a business either.
No, I do agree with you, because I think funny enough, I've had a conversation with one of the mortgage brokers in my firm this morning, and our sort of regular catch-ups, and we're talking about her in her local area, and really drilling down to not looking at and looking at Google My Business page, having a page in the website, just having a web page, and about getting sort of some videos done, some blogging done, some, like, she's keen on social media, but we're just trying to then really turn it into leads by looking at, not just looking in, right, you're on Facebook, we're just trying to work with her to then think, right, okay, well, you've got SEO content as well, because you've done some videos, and you've done a bit of blogging, you've done some blogging as well, but really sort of focusing on the local thing with her. That's the plan behind it. So
like I said earlier, you talk to everybody, you'll hit nobody. It's easier to talk to local people. You then can grow. Obviously, there are people that deal nationwide, but then your SEO gets more complex. Then it's easier to start off small and local. Any business that niches itself is easier to market than one that doesn't. And a location can be a niche. It's not a proper niche, but it is a niche.
No, I believe it is. I think it is sort of like my opinion on it is that, like, I think it is a niche sort of thing. I think that is quite when you're looking at your local community and you just focus on your local community, and that's just really all you are. Like, everything you live and breathe is, I'll pick it like Mortgage Broker Harrogate, and that's all you do. Everything is posted. Everything you do is, there's nothing about other stuff going on like that. It just literally is drilling down on that. I think you are quickly, that's the right word, you're going to achieve what you want to achieve quicker by doing that, rather than spreading yourself across various other things as well.
I think I think the more niched you are, the better. So, for example, a mortgage broker for self-employed people, because all self-employed people would go, oh my God, they know self-employed people, it's hard to get a mortgage, they can help me. So it's like my personal trainer. He's a personal trainer only in Harrogate because it's just him and he doesn't want to travel, but he's also a personal trainer for women. So I think the further you niche yourselves, the better. I mean, I'm not going down that route. I am just staying niched for Harrogate because I would like to help a different range of businesses. I think, I definitely don't want to just work with letting agents, which would, make sense, that being my niche, but I'll get post-traumatic stress. So.
I think what makes it more exciting working with different firms and different people and different industries and different backgrounds, and it just fundamentally your framework's the same, because obviously you are a certified business coach. We've not even talked about the entrepreneur circle and your qualification you went through and things like that. So I'm guessing that the framework's the framework, whether it's mortgage broker, lettings agent, or...
It works for any industry. And I think, because people say to me, well, you don't know what to do. And I think actually it's better to see a business from the outside. I don't need to know the day job. I need to know who your dream clients are, and what your services are, and we'll look at what you're charging and how and why and for what. But actually, I'm not doing the day job, so it's clearer. Talk to my personal trainer client. I said, oh, maybe you should do it this way. I said, oh, actually, that's what my classes involve anyway. I've just never thought of marketing it like that. So I think it's a little bit easier when you're not in something day in, day out to see something. But yeah, the system works for any industry.
I think it makes it more exciting for you or fresher for you when you are working with different industries. So
Yeah.
I was probably doing you a disservice right at the beginning because you would provide that framework. So a mortgage broker in Harrogate, and there are, like I said, quite a few of them, and quite a few of them as well, would want to work with you as a coach from a marketing point of view, because so I would probably doing you a disservice about outside of the industry, because technically you will work with any kind of background. So yeah,
I think you get different ideas for different businesses. I wouldn't want to give all my clients the same ideas or talk them with them. And it's also like helping competition, isn't it? If all my clients were letting agents in the local area, it wouldn't really work. Also, I'm not actually legally allowed to work with letting agents. I'm not allowed to go anywhere near them for 18 months. I've never wanted to. But
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, so luckily, thank God, because I don't want to. But I just have kept my own if I wanted to do that. But the different ideas for different things. A bar events company that I was dealing with yesterday could do different offers, different marketing than my personal trainer client or my wills and probate client, or I've got a recruitment client. So it's different ideas as well. So like you said, it keeps it fresh and interesting.
Definitely, you're surrounded by that as the same framework that you're working with from a coach point of view. And with your coaching, is it face-to-face, one-to-one, or group sessions?
I do some group half-day sessions once a month, which is quite good actually, because because we actually work on their businesses during it. So I got them all to log into LinkedIn yesterday and start updating the profiles, because they were all a bit shocking. But so we did that. But actually, the ideas flying around between themselves as well was great, and I think that works really nicely. It's a more affordable option for small business owners, or I do the one-to-one coaching as well. So I like to do a mix of the two.
One sort of final question that I've got is what does the future look like? Where is this going?
Well, you know me, I like to keep busy. So I'm just about to launch a marketing agency to go with my marketing coaching, which is actually going to be called the Marketing Girl, after that gentleman in the Everyman said, oh, you're the marketing girl. So we're going to go with that, because everybody needs a good backstory, and I think the backstory works. So for the people that don't want the coaching, I'll be able to do the marketing for them, and then the coaching. So I think they work hand in hand quite well. So it's also looking at other stuff you can do that goes well with your main business. And I'm just in the process of writing a book, which will be, I haven't got the title yet, but it's going to be small business marketing. So marketing for small businesses. So it will be a how-to guide that on how to start their marketing journey, but non-jargon, non-boring, non-strategy this, and it's keeping it quite real. It's a strategy is just a plan, and I think big agencies use the word strategy to scare everybody. So.
Yeah, definitely. You are a few of the people I know I hate the word strategy. I don't mind it to a certain extent. It's like I've not got that sort of baggage with regards to strategy, because it's not something that I've used in my corporate background or anything like that. So, but people do have some sort of baggage with the word strategy, which is quite funny, really. So
yeah, I think it's just a word to sometimes make people think that they're getting value for money. They're like, oh, we'll do you a strategy. You mean a plan? It's a plan, isn't it?
It's a plan.
So I'm going to break it down into, I always like to not tell the truth. It's not that they're lying, but I always like to be quite honest with people and be like, you know what, it's just a plan. Let's just cut the jargon and just simplify things and stop overwhelming people, because it doesn't help.
I think I sort of said it is the black magic. Like when they're sort of talking to like web-based firms or like Google ad firms and stuff, like it's just like there's one that I work with that is very clear and very the firm we work with. we tell it how it is that there's no jargon there, whereas wow, there is some sort of baffle with silence and baffle with black magic out there that think but brokers do the same. Brokers use jargon, brokers use to baffle clients as well, and sort of give themselves a bit of a self-importance behind it. So cut out the jargon, cut out the abbreviations. And then I love it when I talk to some brokers that are new into the industry and they said, can you provide us a guide with what all the abbreviations mean? Because people just love using abbreviations. Like, yeah, fine. Yeah.
A lot of it's ego, I think, unfortunately. And I think one of the main things I teach my client is cut the jargon, because actually the only people that understand your jargon are other mortgage brokers or other coaches or other, my PT is always using these words. I'm like, what does that mean? I was like, if I was your dream client, I would have no idea what you're talking about. But other PTs would. So actually you're only talking to each other anyway. Your dream client doesn't speak in jargon.
No, they don't. And they don't. The dream client doesn't want to feel as though they don't know they don't want to be embarrassed by not knowing what they're talking about. Some people will. Some people are just quite saying, what are you on about? I've got no idea. Where some people won't want to feel stupid or not knowing. So people will just go along with it. And then there is a real miscommunication there too. So I think the book's got to be called The Marketing Girl. Well, it's got to have the marketing girl in there, because it sounds like that's going to be a brand for you. So, and a perfect brand. So
yeah, I think so. It's definitely going to be a marketing girl book. I think I just want to make sure it's done in sort of a humble way. It's not a bragging way. It's, didn't call myself the marketing. I think you've just got to be very careful with what you put out there. So it will, I think got a few ideas for the title, so we'll see, but I've got to write it yet.
That's the worst part, writing it. Well,
yeah, and I want it's because we're perfectionists, aren't we? And you want it to be useful and you want people to, so I think you overthink this stuff, so I just need to just write it.
Yeah, you can overthink things, absolutely, and I understand that, definitely. Sarah, thank you so much for your time. We're more or less an hour into the podcast, and it's just been an amazing conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed just catching up, thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you a bit more in terms of you and your personality and your outlook and where you're going and what you're doing. And it's like you say, you surround yourself, and it's easier to surround yourself by like-minded thinking people. And it wasn't until this podcast, and I'm so glad you've gone to podcast now, that I've realized how aligned our thinking is with regards to pretty much everything from a business point of view. And so it's been, I think that's when you know that we're an hour into a podcast, and it's just been so easy to talk to you. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to come along. Yeah, like you said, it's been great to catch up. And like you said, we're very like-minded, and it's great to be around like-minded people when you run a business. You need that support.
Yeah. Definitely. And so if people want to reach out to you, I'm guessing LinkedIn, best place, or any other platform?
Yeah, LinkedIn or Facebook, either of those work pretty well.
Fine. Well, on the post anyway, we'll tag you into all your social media profiles will be tagged in anyway. So if anybody's in the local area to you and interested to discover more and talk to you more and look at how you can help them and grow the business and move it forward from a marketing point of view, then I'm welcome everybody to reach out and do that. But to wrap it up, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.